everybody. Yes, it is me. I'm filming this immediately after my previous video, or whichever one will go up first. Still got my Lemsit. We're still going strong. So this is gonna be my favourite theatre that I've seen so far this year. This is a kind of difficult video to make because some of the things have already closed. In fact, quite a lot of them have. I feel bad like recommending theatre that you now can't go and see. However, this isn't really for you, is it? It's for me, you know, like I want to like keep track of what I've seen and what I've loved. So and also, you know, obviously if people have seen these shows, I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you thought. So we're going to go in chronological order of things that I've seen. I'm going to give some honourable mentions of stuff that I didn't love like quite as much, so it's not like in the top part, but are still running or will be running again at the end of the video, so stick around for those. Yeah, the first show I actually saw this year was the Bonnie and Clyde concert at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. I was incredibly excited about this because Bonnie and Clyde is a show that I've loved for ages. Like, I love the cast recording, and it was going to be a kind of reunion concert for like 2 nights, and it was honestly, the concert was one of the most special things I have ever seen. I went to the second night and they were filming the show, so it's going to be hopefully released at some point, because they were filming it for like a pro shot, and yeah, that meant that they, well, the show started really late, so we were sitting there for like a good half an hour, I think, like waiting for the show to start, and then someone came on stage, one of the producers, saying, sorry, we've had some technical issues, but we're going to film the show. And then it was honestly one of the most like electric atmospheres ever, because everyone there everyone who was there loved the show. But then I also saw later in the year the show made a kind of West End transfer, fully staged, but with like a different cast, apart from Frances Mailey McCann, who played Bonnie, who was also absolutely incredible. So it ran at the Arts Theatre, and that was also one of my favourite shows that I've seen this year. So the new staging was wonderful. It was so like intimate. The Arts Theatre is such a wonderful theatre because it's really small, so anywhere that you're sitting you have a beautiful view, and I really loved like all the kind of changes that they made. There was an extra song that was wonderful, and I think what made it so enjoyable for me was the fact that like just seeing the kind of the full direction, which really allowed the kind of like themes of kind of like knowing history and kind of going over history and stories. I just enjoyed that, like all of the foreshadowing and all that kind of stuff that came through in the staging, and I thought it was really well done, and the cast was obviously amazing. Casts are always amazing. I fully believe that Bonnie and Clyde will come back for like a UK tour, or maybe like a longer run in London. Like I think that's going to happen, and obviously there'll be the recorded version, so at some point, hopefully. So if you get a chance to see it, you should, because the music is wonderful, the story is wonderful, and yeah, it's just a good old time. It's so funny, it's also very sad, it's great. Next on my list is Cabaret. So this was running, no, it still is, it's still running, at the Playhouse Theatre, which has kind of been rebranded as the Kit Kat Club because that's where Cabaret is set. So they kind of make the whole like experience of going there very like immersive. I mean, the theatre has been completely revamped, so all of the kind of like the areas that you enter through, and the sort of areas that you wait in while before the show starts, they've all been totally like redone and made to immerse you in the show. Like there are performers doing like dances and music before the show starts. I was lucky enough to see this with the original cast, so with Eddie Redmayne and Jessie Buckley, so obviously that was like an incredible experience, and I think like I love Cabaret. Cabaret is again one of my favourite shows. I hadn't seen it before live, but this was one of like the most special experiences because it was this incredible new production, with this incredible cast. The people who are sitting kind of in the stalls area, like on the level with the stage, are around tables, and the cast kind of come off the stage and interact with them directly. I was quite high up in like in the back, but I still felt incredibly like involved in the show. It's also in the round, so kind of, well, the stage is round, but there's audience either side, so it just felt like a kind of experience that was just very like, I don't know, like I was totally in that world for the entire time that I was there. And Cabaret is just an incredible, like, timeless show. The music is amazing and gorgeous and iconic, and the way that you can restage it and redo it for like new modern times just makes it like so infinitely exciting. And this production was just amazing, like the costume design, the choreography, like there were certain parts that I'd never noticed before, like I'd never thought of them in that way before, and it was just like, I think it's a sign of a really amazing revival where like you have like, you know all the songs and you know all the kind of like the acting beats and like what happens, but when you're watching it, it all feels totally brand new, and that's how this felt. Yeah, it's still running in London. I think tickets are quite expensive, but if you book in advance you can get like cheap ones, so I would really recommend going to see it. Like it's, I think, like the defining kind of like production, not just of Cabaret, but like pretty much any show. Like it's the most exciting thing that's happened on the West End for like years, I think. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. A show that has sadly closed since I saw it, and closed about like, I don't know, like a week ago, tragically, because I'm late filming this video, is Operation Mincemeat. So I saw this at the Southwark Playhouse at the beginning of the year, and then I saw it again at Riverside Studios in Hammersmith. I went with my partner, and it's genuinely, again, one of the best new productions I've ever seen. So I mean, the film's recently come out, so you might be familiar with the story, but it's a real story about a like Secret Service operation in the Second World War, that is kind of like, it's bonkers, like it's wild. It sort of like, it went wrong at like every turn, but still somehow everything worked out okay. And the musical is very much like inspired by, you can kind of see like the Hamilton and Six like influences in it. So it's that sort of history like musical, but it's also like totally new. I think there's like 6 actors in it, and they all play about 5 different characters each. And it's very much like, it reminds me of the kind of shows that I used to go and see like when I was a lot younger, where it was kind of like outdoor theatre or like travelling companies where they would sort of reinvent like shows and stories that you'd already know, but in a kind of like farcical sort of way, where like everyone is changing costumes and like, you know, taking a hat off and suddenly they're a new character, and it's just, and they're like making fun of what they're doing, but also it's incredibly like moving. It's so unique. I don't think there's anything quite like it out there at the moment, and it's hilarious. Like, it's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen, but it's also so moving. The music gets stuck in my head all the time. The day that they announce the cast recording will be the happiest day of my life, because then I know that I can listen to these songs like forever. There are like a couple on SoundCloud and YouTube, but not like fully, and not the kind of up-to-date versions. I desperately want there to be like an afterlife for the show beyond what it's had already, because it's so good and everyone needs to see it. I'm really sorry, it's another show that's closed. Oklahoma at the Young Vic. So, well, this is still, I think it's still running on Broadway. It's the revival version that was on Broadway a few years ago. I'm almost certain it's running in the US as a national tour, and I would highly recommend, if you can go and see it, do, because again, it's one of the most exciting like productions that I've ever seen. So I wasn't familiar with Oklahoma before I went to see this, but I knew that the revival was meant to be like really new and fresh, and doing something quite like, you know, unique by making Oklahoma obviously like, you know, this kind of classic Rodgers and Hammerstein show. It kind of updates it and sets it in a modern time without changing any of the dialogue or the songs, but also like the reorchestrates all of the music so that it's kind of like a modern sort of country feel, but also like I wasn't expecting this production to be so sort of like shocking. It doesn't shy away from anything, like it's very bold in its choices, so there are points where like every single light in the auditorium goes out, and you are in complete darkness for certain scenes. Also, you start off and are for most of the show in complete brightness, and the house lights, there aren't really any house lights, like the entire auditorium is lit as if it's one big room, and you know the performers are kind of on the same level as the first level of seats, so everyone is kind of very much involved, and that makes you, over the course of the show, feel like you're part of this kind of community, and then when things kind of go wrong and go a bit dark at the end, very dark, you then feel like complicit. Also, the reorchestrated version is on Spotify, like the Broadway Art Cast album. I highly recommend you go listen to that, because all of the songs are stunning, like so beautiful in this new like rewritten version. Like all of the lyrics are the same, all of the notes are the same, all of the keys are the same, but the style of the singing and the style of the orchestrations is totally reinvented. Again, the cast was fantastic. Arthur Darvill was playing Curly, and I genuinely feel like he was born for that role. I was like, is this not like what you've always been meant to do in your life? It was just great. Like, in any way, if you can watch this show live or listen to the cast recording or whatever, please do, because it was like mind-blowing, and I just came out of the show being like, how is that like a real thing that I've just seen? It was amazing. Another show that's closed, and another reinventing revival. It was Legally Blonde at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. My god, I love this. Again, Legally Blonde is a show that I love, and I finally got to see it live, but in a totally new, like updated way. And it's so good. It was so good. Like, it was just so joyful. I genuinely had a smile on my face the entire time. It was just a show that I had just like the best time. And I'm so glad that I got to see it. Yeah, if you did get to see it, please let me know what you thought, because it was so much fun. The last thing on my like main list, which is also the only play I think on the main best things list, and that is Jerusalem, which I think is still running. I think. I'll check. You know what? I'll check. Okay, it is still running for like another few weeks, I think. And so yeah, this is a play by Jez Butterworth, which is about okay, so it's about a man who lives in a caravan in a kind of forest in a village in, I think it's Wiltshire in England, and he kind of has lived there for ages on this land. His family lived on it, like, but he doesn't technically own it. So at the very beginning of the show, you get like these people in high-vis jackets come along, and they put a notice up on the caravan door saying you have to leave, or we're going to evict you. And then over the course of the day, well, over the course of the show, runs hang on. The show takes place over the course of one day, and so it starts in this morning, and you get basically you just get an insight into this community and this man's place in the community, and it was so long. It's like 3 1.25 hours long or something stupid. There's 2 intervals. I was right at the back. I was entranced the entire time. I could not keep my eyes off the stage. Like, I was transfixed, shall we say. Again, one of the funniest things I've ever seen, but the ending, my god, the ending is so powerful because you end with, you know, the fact that this man is going to get evicted, potentially. The emotional roller coaster that you go on through this show is wild. Like, the guy, the main character, he's not just like a man that lives by this village. He is also a kind of pinnacle of this like community, and all of the like village's teenagers kind of flock to him as a sort of, you know, because he tells like these ridiculous stories that no one can tell if they're true or not. He looks after them all, but also he provides them with like, you know, drugs and alcohol and a place to kind of like, you know, party and escape. And it's not really clear whether they are like genuinely his friends or they're kind of using him. And yeah, he's sort of like very much in this community but also excluded from it. Also, I should say the day that this takes place over is, I think it's St. George's Day, so there's also like and everyone's kind of preparing for like this village like fete thing. So it's very much about like England and English nationalism and exclusion and community. It's just incredible. It ran on Broadway like I think at the beginning of the like early 2000s, and it had Mark Rylance in it, and he then returned for this production. He is wild. I think his performance in this was probably the best. I think I'd say it's the best performance that I've seen this year. If only for the fact that he starts off the show by jumping onto a water trough and doing a handstand on it, like either side of the water trough. He jumps into a handstand, dunks his head in the water trough at the very beginning of the show. He also randomly starts chopping wood at the back of the stage at one point. There's also live chickens, a live tortoise, and a live goldfish. One of my favourite little things about the show, which feels weird to say, but it just made me so happy. It was the fact that at the bows, the goldfish is on stage in a little jug of water, and at the bows there is a member of the crew, the stage crew, comes on stage, and while everyone else is bowing, like rushes the goldfish off. And it just made me so happy that there was someone whose job it was to be like, the show's over everyone, I must get the goldfish. It's a masterpiece. The play is a masterpiece. The performances were a masterpiece. Everything wonderful, amazing, go see it. Very quickly, honourable mentions of shows that are still running or will be soon. So The Ocean at the End of the Lane, based on the book by Neil Gaiman. It's beautiful, like puppetry, magic, amazing. If you have kids, go see it. Also terrifying, very scary at some points. I got so scared, but like the theatre craft of it is wonderful. And the story is just lovely. Like, it's just, again, it's the one that like sucks you into the world, and it's just like, it just shows to you what like theatre magic can do. It's going on a UK tour next year, so yeah, go see it, please. Then there is The Life of Pi, again, one with amazing puppetry and really shows like, you know, what the magic of theatre can do. I need to stop saying that. But yeah, like, amazing. And again, very scary at times. I mean, I'm someone who is terrified of the ocean and like going on boats because I don't want to get shipwrecked, and a shipwreck is a very key moment in this story. I found it absolutely terrifying in the film. It's even worse in the show. I was so stressed. It's running in London until January next year, I think. And yeah, you should 100% go see it because it won loads of Olivier's, very well deserved. And it's just a good time. Also, My Fair Lady, which is at the, what's it called? London Coliseum, until the end of August. This is not like my favourite thing I've ever seen, but I do think it was a really good revival. It's kind of like a classic. Like, it's not like the revivals where it's like reinventing anything. It's like, it's just a beautifully done version of the classic show. The main thing I think that is worth seeing this for is the lead of the company, Amara Okariki, who plays Eliza Doolittle. She is so good. She has the voice of an angel, acts in the most incredible way. I was really far at the back again, but I could tell every little thing that she was doing, even though I couldn't really see her face. I was like, it was honestly a masterclass. I saw her in Spring Awakening at the Almeida Theatre like November last year, and she was incredible there. So she's the main reason I went to go see this. But yeah, I think she's like quite early on in her career, and I'm like, you are a star, darling, because obviously I am the person who is authorised to make those kinds of judgments. It's a bit of a weird show, not gonna lie. I didn't know it very well, and I was like, this story is bizarre. The pacing is very weird, it's very long, but yeah, I was like, but worth it to go see Amara doing her version of Eliza Doolittle, because it was gorgeous. Anyway, I've been talking for way too long and way too fast, so I'm sorry about that. This has been a good time though. I hope you enjoyed, and please, 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 if you've seen any of these shows, please let me know what you thought of them. I just want to talk about things with people because I love doing it. It's so fun. Yeah, and also if you haven't seen any of these shows, if they're the ones that have closed, sorry, sucks to be you, but if they are the ones that haven't or are coming back, go see them, or I will be having words. I've been filming for like an hour. I have COVID. The delirium is kicking in. Let's go. Alright, thank you very much for watching. I will see you soon. You're the best. Mwah.